Hi everyone, welcome to the second webinar of a series of webinars conducted by TCS in lieu of the upcoming management case study examinations happening in August 2023. My name is Nick and I'm one of the lead tutors and evaluators for MCS at TCS. So let's look at what the session outcomes are. So first things first, I'll be taking you through answering technique as well as time management technique. Mind you, these things are extremely important because if you are preparing for your MCS exam, definitely you need to be conversant or thorough with these answering as well as time management techniques, because most students end up failing the exam, especially because they run out of time. And why do they run out of time? Because they do not have an appropriate answering technique. So, by teaching you these two areas, answering technique as well as time management, you'd be in a position to come up with high quality answers, well structured answers. At the same time, you'd have the capability to finish off all your work on time without rushing your answers. Okay, so all these things will be discussed in depth in tonight's session. And as the second part of tonight's webinar, I will be, after taking you through the answering technique and time management technique, I will take you through the mini mock, the question and answer of the mini mock, which you can find over our website under the free content. And I will explain to you how you are supposed to apply these answering and time management techniques in a practical sense in a real exam scenario. So I'm not just talking about the techniques pertaining to developing answer plans and managing your time. I'm also explaining how to implement these techniques, both answering as well as time management techniques, in a practical manner based on or taking you through the mini mock and its suggested answer. All right. So before we get into the nitty-gritties, let me remind you about the schedule for these MCS webinars conducted by TCS. So as you should know by now, we have already completed the first webinar where we took you through the technicalities pertaining to the MCS exam. Especially if you are coming through an exemption route, it's of utmost importance that you understand the technical nitty-gritties pertaining to the MCS exam. This might be your first CIMA case study, so you need to know what you are getting into. So all these things were covered in the first webinar which we conducted. And within the first webinar itself, we also provided you with an 8-week study plan. And if we explained this study plan in depth. The same study plan can be found on our website under the MCS page as well. So if you stick to this study plan, definitely you can pass your exam easily. And on top of that, most students who adhere to our study plan and end up, getting marks above 100. Okay, so that's a guarantee which we give. If you guys stick to the study plan, then you can get extremely good marks at your exam. So in tonight's session, I'll be talking about answering and time management technique. And in the upcoming webinar, which is happening on the 15th of July, a week after, I will be taking you through the comments made by the examiner, because it's of utmost importance that you understand what is expected from you by listening to what the CIMA examiner has to tell you. So I'll be taking you through all these comments so that you are in a position to really understand the mindset and the psychology of the CIMA examiner. And on top of that, I will also highlight about common reasons for failure. And for each of these reasons, I will be providing solutions in the third webinar. And within the third webinar itself, I will also highlight tips pertaining to how you can improve your confidence, because students who display a higher level of confidence at the real exam and end up passing the exam comfortably. It's not just what the students are experiencing by themselves, it's what the CIMA examiner is telling us as well. Okay, so all these things will be covered in the third and final webinar. So let's get into the nitty-gritties of tonight's webinar. So first things first, I'm gonna highlight about answering technique. So when developing answers, you are supposed to use appropriate headings and subheadings. Okay, so this is of utmost importance. You need to understand what this is about. So when providing answers, if you go through a question, it's as if one of your superiors are sending an email to you. Okay, so why would you see questions like these? Because the CIMA examiner is trying to replicate a real life corporate environment. So in a real life corporate environment, according to your role, you are supposed to play the role of a finance manager, and you are reporting to the senior finance manager or some director within the company. Okay, so every time a question is thrown at you, it will come in email format as if your senior finance manager or some other superior is sending you an email. So that's exactly what you can see in here as well. If you look at the question, which you can find under our free content, the question pertinent to the mini mock, you can see simply that you are receiving an email from your senior finance manager, and she is saying that she needs you to draft a briefing paper for the board that covers the following. So these are your requirements. And for each of these requirements, there are two requirements or two subtasks within this question. So if there are two subtasks or two requirements, you need to come up with two main headings, a main heading for each of the requirements. Since there are two requirements, you need to come up with two main headings, and the main headings needs to be in bold and underlined format. Okay, and if you feel that you need to further fraction out your answer or further subdivide your answer into several parts, you are welcome to use subheadings. And when using subheadings, it needs to be in bold format. So for each subtask, you need to come up with a main heading, which needs to be in bold and underlined format. And if you want to further subdivide your answer, you are welcome to come up with subheadings. And if that is the case, each subheading needs to be in bold format. So that's the first, need, or the first requirement you need to, possess, or the first skill which you need to possess when structuring your answers. So focus on using appropriate headings and subheadings. Then after thinking about the headings and subheadings, once you have understood what type of headings and subheadings you are supposed to use, you are supposed to develop answers. So when providing answers, you are supposed to provide answers in paragraph format. So a paragraph should ideally consist of 2 to 4 lined sentences. Okay, so the CIMA examiner specifically mentions that you are not supposed to provide answers in single lined sentences, or you are not supposed to use bullet points when providing answers. Instead, you need to provide fully fledged answers, and these answers need to be in several paragraphs. So, I will be explaining what an answer structure is. So after developing an answer structure, if you had highlighted 7 valid points within the answer structure, then when coming up with, or when developing your fully fledged answer, you need to have 7 paragraphs of answers. So for each answer point, you need to come up with a paragraph. So if there are 7 valid points or 7 main points within your answer structure, within your fully fledged answer, you need to have 7 paragraphs. Okay, and what I've seen is, although although the CIMA examiner is asking you to provide answers in several paragraphs, although I'm suggesting you to stick to an answering structure, and based on the answer points, I'm asking you to develop the number of paragraphs. Although I tell you these things, most students, when they start typing the answer, they type the entire answer within one single paragraph. That should be avoided. Why? Because although you are taking 3 hours to attempt your paper, when the invigilator comes into the picture, the invigilator or the person who's marking your paper is not gonna spend more than 15 minutes to mark your paper. On average, an invigilator takes something about 10 to 13 minutes to mark a paper. So within 10 to 13 minutes, the examiner or the invigilator is trying to figure out the quality of your answers. So it's better to structure your answers properly so that the invigilator can easily spot what your answers are. If you write your entire answer within one single paragraph, the invigilator will have to spend some time to pick and select or identify valid answer points. So when that becomes, when spotting answers becomes a strenuous process, you are not in the good books of the marker. So it's better to be in the good books of the marker. So how can you be in the good books of the marker? Make his or her life easy. How can you make his or her life easy? By developing a paragraph per answer point. So then the marker can easily see how many paragraphs are there. Out of the paragraphs of answers which you have developed, which of the paragraphs are accurate and which of the paragraphs are inaccurate. So the invigilator can easily provide you with marks without going through a strenuous process. Okay, so please adhere to these guidelines as much as possible, especially when you are practicing your mock exams, because although you learn these things, learn these techniques now, you can't simply walk into the exam and start implementing these things. You need to practice them, because you can't do it for the first time when you're doing it. You need to get a hang of these answering techniques which we're highlighting tonight. Okay, so use appropriate headings and subheadings and use paragraphs when developing answers. Then when it comes to time management, what are you supposed to do? You know for a fact that 45 minutes are allocated on a task by task basis. So within your paper, there are 4 main requirements or 4 main tasks. Each task carries a time allocation of 45 minutes. So 45 minutes into 4 is 3 hours. Okay. So how are you supposed to utilize your time allocation on a task by task basis? 1/3 of the time should be allocated towards reading the question and developing something called an answer plan. So this is how a question will typically look like. And on top of the question, you have to go through reference material as well. So in order to do all these things, allocate something like 5 minutes. Okay. Then after you had read the entire question with the reference material, you need to allocate 15 minutes of your time to develop something called an answer plan. So 5 minutes should be allocated towards reading the question in its entirety. Then 15 minutes should be allocated towards developing the answer plan. And the remaining time, which is almost 2/3 of your time, should be allocated towards typing. So when developing the answer plan, you are supposed to plan, you have to think, you have to spend some time to come up with a well-rounded answer. You need to think about whether you had fulfilled the requirements which are highlighted within the question. You need to figure out whether you had brought in certain information from the pre-scene. You need to figure out whether your answer makes sense or your answer is actually applicable to the company or not. So all these, in order to do all these things, you need to allocate 15 minutes. And once you have an answer plan, it's just a matter of expanding each and every point which I have highlighted within the answer plan. So when typing, I do not need you guys to think. Instead, spend enough time when developing your answer plan. That's where you are supposed to think. And when it comes to typing, it's just a matter of expanding each and every answer point. So that's why I'm saying you should allocate something like 2/3 of your time for typing, because usually an MCS on a task by task basis, an MCS question will need to have something like 600 to 800 words. So it will take you some time, something like 20 to 25 minutes to type the entire answer. And the expected typing speed is a minimum of 20 words per minute. And if your typing speed is not up to par, then in the coming weeks, you need to spend some time to get your or to improve your typing speed. There are so many software and typing platform out there. So you can utilize these services to get your typing speed up. And when developing the answer plan, you have to determine the mark allocation for each subtask based on the weightages provided. So what is this about? As you can see, under each subtask, there's a weightage provided, 56% and 44%. This indicates how many marks are allocated for each subtask. So the total marks allocated for each task is 37.5 marks. So from 37.5 marks, 56% is your mark allocation for the first subtask. Then 44% of 37.5 marks is your mark allocation for the second subtask. So when developing your answer plan, when determining how many answer points you need to have under each and every subtask, you need to look at the mark allocation. So based on these weightages, I'll be talking about these things later as well, but just explaining the facts. So based on this question, the weightage provided is 56%. So 56% of 37.5 marks is 21 marks. So for the first subtask, 21 marks are allocated. So within your answer plan, you need to have something like 9 to 11 valid answer points. Okay. And if you look at the second subtask, 16.5 marks are allocated. So in such an environment, you need to have 7 to 8 valid points within your answer. So if you have 8 valid points for the second subtask, how many paragraphs do you need to have within your answer? 8 paragraphs. Okay. If you had come up with 10 valid points for subtask A, how many paragraphs do you need to have within your answer? 10 paragraphs. Okay. So that's the structure which you need to, or the technique which you need to adhere to. Do not spend time on formatting because you're not getting any marks for paragraph alignment and whatnot. The only type of formatting which you need to adhere to is with regards to using headings and subheadings, headings in bold and underlined format, subheadings in bold format, and coming up with paragraphs when developing your answer. And remember, it's always about the quality of the points. So there's absolutely no point when if you had come up with hordes and hordes of unnecessary information just because of you coming up with unnecessary or non-value adding information, you're not going to get marks. The examiner is looking at whether you had fulfilled the requirement, whether you have related your answer to the company and the challenges the company is facing at the present. If that is the case, you'd get marks. So that's exactly why I'm suggesting that you need to spend some time to plan your answer appropriately, because as per my experience, I've been teaching CIMA for the past 11 years. And most students, what they do is right after reading the question, they start typing the answer. But halfway through, they realize that they are headed in the wrong direction, that their answer is not aligned with the requirement. Halfway down the line, they might realize that they have not really understood the information which is highlighted within the answer. So in such an environment, you'd have to delete your answer and start typing from scratch. So in the back of your mind, you'd know for a fact that you had wasted a lot of your time. And when that happens, it leads to stress. You'd panic. And once you are panicking, definitely you'd run out of time. You'd try to provide rushed answers, or you'd end up providing incomplete answers. If that is the case, you can't pass your exam. So it's of utmost importance that you stick to these answering techniques. 5 minutes for reading the question, 15 minutes for developing the answer plan, and the remaining time, which is 20 to 25 minutes, should be allocated towards expanding your answer plan. Okay. All right. So how are you supposed to develop your answers? So read the scenario first. So it's all about reading the question, and going through the reference material as well. And after reading the question, after understanding what the company is going through, after understanding the scenario, and after understanding the requirements, you are supposed to plot the requirements into headings and subheadings. Okay. So as per this question, there are two main requirements. So these requirements can be, redeveloped in a short or a concise manner where you can easily understand what the requirement is. So for instance, if I take you through the first requirement, you are supposed to firstly analyze the impact that a newspaper article like this could have on our company and the likelihood of those impacts materializing. So it's quite long. So it's better to rephrase it in an understandable manner, in a concise manner. So I've just rephrased it, which goes as impact of the article and likelihood of impacts materializing. So it's better to shorten it so that you can always refer back to the requirement and see whether you are headed in the correct direction when developing your answers. Okay. And if you look at the second subtask, secondly, provide your suggestions on how we can prevent such incidents from recurring with transfers handled by third-party transport companies. So I've, summarized it as how to prevent issues with transfers. So I've kept it simple, so that you can always refer back to, whilst developing your answer structure or your answer plan, you can easily refer back to the requirement, which is reiterated in a simpler manner. You can always refer to it and see whether your answer is aligned with the requirement. Okay, so you are supposed to do that. So that's step number 2. And invest time to understand the requirement clearly. So you need to really understand before you start developing the answer what the requirement is telling you, impact of the article and likelihood of impacts materializing. So that's what we're supposed to highlight. Okay. And then plan the answer first. A maximum of 1/3 of the time can be taken. So start developing an answer plan. So this is what an answer plan needs to look like. As you can see, rather than, typing the entire fully fledged answer, you need to come up with a simple answer structure with bullet points and whatnot, with all the necessary information. So this is your answer structure. Okay. And when developing the answer structure, you can always go back to the requirement and see, am I fulfilling this requirement properly when developing the answer plan? So halfway through, if you realize that you are not adhering to the requirement, you can simply readjust your answer plan before you start typing your fully fledged answer. Okay, so keep it simple, just like this, with a set of bullet points and whatnot. So that's what your answer plan needs to look like. I'll, explain this further. And plan the answer in the answer screen itself, not the scratch pad. So don't utilize the scratch pad because when developing the answer plan, if you utilize the scratch pad, it will expose you to multiple complexities. Why? Let's assume when you developed the answer plan within the scratch pad for subtask A, you had 9 answer points. But when shifting between 2 answer screens, the scratch pad and your answer screen, you might miss out on a certain point which appears within the scratch pad, but in the rush, you end up missing out a certain point. So when you miss out a certain point, you end up losing marks. Okay, so in order to avoid such a situation, I'm asking you guys to do or develop the answer plan within the answer screen itself. Do not ever use the scratch pad, because one, you'd have to keep on shifting between 2 screens, which is going to be a complex process. And on top of that, you might miss out on certain points which you have highlighted within your answer plan, which appears within the scratch pad. And when bringing information from the scratch pad to your answer screen, you might end up missing out certain points. So in order to avoid all these complexities, it's better to develop the answer plan within the answer screen itself. And once you are done with developing the answer plan, then expand the points which you have highlighted within the answer plan when typing your fully fledged answer. Okay, so that's what you are supposed to do when it comes to developing answers. All right, so let me take you through this question, and based on this question, I will explain the answer planning and time management technique. Okay, so before we proceed, any questions up to now, guys? Any questions? I'm gonna pause the recording. All right, seems like there aren't any questions, so I'm going to move forward. So section number 1, a 45-minute question. You have received the following email from your senior finance manager as you start your day at office. So you are receiving an email from your senior finance manager, and the subject goes as newspaper article. Okay, I have attached a newspaper article published today in the Westland Business Daily. Note that this is the second time in this month that Happywell has been implicated in a news article with a complaint of this nature by a customer. So this highlights some type of inefficiency about the services provided by our company, because one of the newspapers within the country has publicized a negative comment one of our customers had made about the services received from him or her, received by him or her. Okay, so let's look at the reference material to gain an in-depth understanding about what this issue is. So this is an article from Westland Business Daily, and it's from the travel column. And within the travel column, you can see customer reviews. It goes as terrible transfers by John Wick. So one of the customers, whose name is John Wick, has highlighted about some issues with the transfer services offered. Okay. He's saying that he just returned from a 5-day holiday well spent in sea, sand, sun, and coach. Okay. According to the information provided in the pre-scene, it talks about 3 S's: sea, sand, and sun, but there is no sea or a fourth factor, which is known as coach. So let's try to figure out what this customer is trying to tell us. The latest addition to Happywell's 3S package. Okay, I had booked a holiday package with Happywell for Mainlandia. Everything was great except for the time wasted on transfers from the airport to the hotel and the other way around. Okay, so if you had gone through our annotated pre-scene, you would have understood that there's this transfer service provided by third-party companies. So what is this transfer service? These transfers or these transfer service providers handle transport of customers from the airport to the hotel, and once the hotel stay is over, from the hotel to the airport, the transfer is handled by a third-party service provider. So the customer is saying that everything was great except for the time wasted on transfers from the airport to the hotel and the other way around. The flight journey from Westland to Mainlandia took just 45 minutes, but the coach ride from the airport to the hotel took nearly 2 hours. So this is something, a huge inefficiency faced by this customer. Why? Because the customer had traveled from one country to another, taking 45 minutes, but to travel from the airport to the hotel, it had taken the customer 2 hours. Happywell had booked a coach operated by a local transport company to drop us off at our hotel from the airport. Little did I know that it would turn out to be the worst part of the whole trip. So this customer is complaining about the transfer services provided by a third party. The coach had to drop off passengers in 5 hotels, and mine was last in the list. Some kids in the coach were very noisy, and I had to turn up the volume in my headset to beat that noise. The interior of the coach wasn't helping either, as the seats weren't comfortable enough, and the coach didn't look well maintained either. It was distressing. It was a distressing 2 hours in the coach. So this highlights the type of issues faced by this customer. So this customer had to wait until the coach service provider dropped all the other guests within 4 different hotels, and the customer had to sit in one place for 2 hours. And on top of that, the kids who were within the coach were very noisy, and the seats weren't comfortable, and the coach, which was used for transportation, was not well maintained as well. And once again, while coming back to the airport at the end of our 5-day holiday, we had to endure another 2-hour journey with the coach visiting one hotel after the other to pick up customers. And this time we were dropped off at the airport an hour earlier than required because some passengers in our coach had a flight which was departing 1 hour before our flight. So this customer had to spend 2 hours on the road and had to waste an hour at the airport as well. The holiday started on a negative note and ended on the same note, disappointed. So according to the information provided within this travel column, it appears that the customer is, customer has nothing to say about the services provided by us. So it appears that the customer is actually satisfied by the services offered by Happywell. However, the customer is extremely dissatisfied about the coach system, which handles the transfers between the airport and the hotel, and after the stay, hotel, the transfers between the hotel and the airport. Okay, so that's the type of problems which we are facing at the moment. I met Lee Qing Wei, our CEO, in the morning, and he looked very concerned with this news. Lee Qing Wei has also received a call from Elon Musk, one of our major shareholders, expressing concerns of such news articles. So our CEO is concerned, and one of our major shareholders who had seen this newspaper article, he is concerned as well. Lee has called for a board meeting today to consider this matter. I need you to draft a briefing paper for the board that covers the following. Okay, so we know what the problems are. Let's look at the requirement. Firstly, analyze the impact that a newspaper article like this could have on our company and the likelihood of those impacts materializing. Okay, and the weightage provided is 56%. So as I told you earlier, your first step is to determine how many marks are allocated for each subtask. So based on the weightage, 56%, 21 marks are allocated for the first subtask. And then you are supposed to understand the requirement properly. So I've reiterated or reworded the requirement, as I told you earlier, in a concise manner. Impact of the article on our company and the likelihood of impacts materializing. So how is it going to impact, or how are all these problems going to impact our company? And on top of that, will these problems materialize in the future? Okay, so that's what the requirement is. Okay, so let's look at the answer plan, or what type of an answer plan you are supposed to develop. Okay, so first things first, you have to come up with the main heading, which goes as impact of the newspaper article and the likelihood of impacts materializing. And as I told you earlier, the main heading needs to be in bold and underlined format. That's exactly what you can see in here. All right. So first things first, based on all this information, what you can simply understand is, so all this information leads to negative publicity. Happywell is known for quality as per information provided in the pre-scene. We are known for quality, and these negative reviews impact our brand image. Okay, so this is not the first time we had faced such an issue. There had been multiple reviews before as well, as per the scenario highlighted within the question. Okay, so these negative reviews will definitely affect our reputation, which is based on quality. So then thinking about the likelihood of this materializing, or likelihood of similar situations materializing in the future. So based on the information provided as part of the reference material, we can simply see that the company's name is implicated. Why am I suggesting this? Because in here, it is specifically mentioned that this customer was using Happywell's 3S package. So definitely our name is mentioned. Since our name is mentioned on the newspaper article, it will definitely lead to negative publicity. And this is the second article about the issue in the months. So based on that, I'm suggesting that the likelihood of this type of a problem reappearing is moderate to high. Okay, because we had experienced a similar outcome previously as well within this month. If the news gets shared across social media and generates more publicity, then the likelihood of this issue affecting our brand in a negative manner is extremely high. Okay, so this had only appeared within one of the newspaper articles, But if this problem is publicized over social media, then definitely it would lead to a greater level of negative publicity in the future. Okay, so that's the first impact. Then looking at the second impact, how are bookings to the same destination, mail India, gonna be affected in the short term? So we are offering these services. So since the customer has mentioned that he was utilizing the services offered by Happywell, and since the customer has also mentioned that he experienced this problem when traveling to mail India, customers might think twice before buying holiday packages from us, which concerns Mail India. Any customer seeing negative reviews can have second thoughts about visiting Mail India, okay? And that will impact our business in a negative manner. And customers may thus consider alternatives. So rather than when going to Mail India, rather than utilizing our services, customers might pick or choose a competitor's services. Okay, and as per the information provided in the pre-scene, Mango Share offers same services and has a similar market share. So you need to remember this. As per the information which appears within the pre-scene, Mango Share offers similar services that to ours, and they have a similar market share, which indicates that when taking a decision to travel to Mail India, customers might pick Mango's Air over us. And what is the likelihood of this issue materializing? Customers may not want to take a chance with their holiday trip. So customers, if they think like this, the likelihood of this materializing will be relatively high. And some customers, although this is the case, some customers might see delays with transfers to be inherent with holiday travel. If that is the case, the likelihood of this type of an issue materializing will be moderate. So there could be two different types of customers with two different types of mindsets. So one set of customers might think, okay, look here, these guys are not offering efficient services, and because of that, they might shift to a competitor. On the other hand, another set of customers might think that delays with transfers are common within this industry. It is, as a customer, we have to expect these type of delays, especially when it comes to transfers. So these type of customers might not be too worried about, spending some time within a coach when traveling from the airport to the hotel and from the hotel to the airport. Okay. And on top of that, as per the information provided, there are, it indicates some concerns raised by shareholders as well. Elon Musk has expressed his disappointment. So as per the question, this is one of our main shareholders, and other shareholders might jump on the bandwagon. So only Elon Musk is concerned about this issue at the moment, but when other major shareholders get to know about it, they might share the same view as Elon Musk, and in such an environment, they might end up selling our shares, and this will affect our share price negatively. And when our share price drops, then even minority shareholders might end up selling the shares, and this news will be publicized on general media as well as social media, and this might again lead to negative publicity in the future. So what is the likelihood of these type of issues materializing? Shareholders can become concerned about the negative impact on our share price, definitely. As I told you earlier, whenever there's something negative being publicized about our company, it will reflect on our share prices. Our share prices will drop. And some shareholders may see the issue as inherent in holiday travel. So just like the customers, when you look at the shareholders, a set of shareholders would say, okay, this is unacceptable. Because of that, I'm gonna sell my share. Okay. On the other hand, another set of shareholders might say, okay, there are issues with transfer programs. It's not just something which is inherent to our company. All the other companies are facing it. If these type of shareholders are more, then our share price will not drop too much. Okay. So the likelihood of shareholder concerns leading to a drop in share price will be moderate in such an environment. Okay. So as you can see, I'm building an argument looking at multiple angles. I'm not just thinking about customers who are pissed. I'm also thinking about customers who might be okay with delays in transfers. I'm not only looking at Neil on Husk or customers with the same mindset who might end up selling the shares. I'm also thinking about shareholders who would understand that transfer programs inherently have inefficiencies built into them. Okay. All right, so that's the answer for the first subtask. Then moving on to the second subtask. Secondly, provide your suggestions on how we can prevent such incidents from recurring with transfers handled by third-party transport companies. So as I told you earlier, it's better for you to reiterate the requirement in an understandable yet concise manner. How to prevent issues with transfers. Okay, so let's look at the answer. This is the main heading. Suggestions on how to prevent such incidents with transfers, which is in bold and underlined format. Happywell does not have complete control over transport providers. Why? Because especially looking at the transfer programs, it is outsourced. So how do you know this? This information did not appear within the question or as part of the reference material. This was mentioned within the pre-scene. So if you had not gone through the annotated pre-scene, then you might not remember this point. So when developing the answer, first things first, I'm highlighting what type of an activity is involved with this transfer program. I'm highlighting the fact that transfer programs are handled by third parties, not us. Okay. So then it's easier for me to build a logic around this point. So I've taken this point from the pre-scene, and for doing that, you get marks because at the MCS level, remember, you are playing a managerial role. You are playing the role of a finance manager. So as a finance manager, when coming up with suggestions or recommendations, definitely you need to think about the company's internal dynamics. You have to be conversant with the company's internal dynamics as well as the external dynamics. So that's the role of a finance manager. So that's exactly why I keep on telling you that you need to go through our annotated pre-scene. You need to go through the 4 pre-scene analysis videos. If you do so, you are in a position to remember all the key points. And on top of that, we have also provided a set of 3 videos on TikTok, which spans across 9 to 10 minutes. So if you keep on continuously watching these videos, all these main points will be ingrained within your mind, and you need not refer to any other study material to memorize these things. Simply go through our annotated pre-scene, watch the 4 pre-scene analysis videos, then watch the 3 TikTok videos on a daily basis. Then you'd remember all these type of nitty-gritties. Okay. And what are the suggestions to reduce these issues? First things first, we have to select transport companies based on service quality, not cost. So if we only focus on cost, then definitely the coaches will be not up to standard. They will not be maintained, and customers will spend a lot of time on the road unnecessarily. So when selecting a transport services provider, we have to think about quality, not cost. And Happywell is known for quality, and poor service quality can offset cost savings. So although we go for a low cost service provider, if the services provided are inferior, then we would end up losing sales. So this customer had put up a newspaper article. So likewise, if multiple customers end up putting up bad reviews about us, especially given the fact that these inefficiencies were created by a third party, then our brand name is on the line. So it's better to focus on quality than cost when selecting a transport provider. And the second option is to partnering with regards to partnering with reliable transport companies. It's better to establish long-term working relationships so that we are in a position to avoid these type of inefficiencies which are faced by customers. We can ensure that the coaches which are used of required level of quality. We can ensure that the coaches are well maintained, and the services provided by the drivers as well as the staff working within the coach is up to the required level of standard. So we have to, if we go for long-term working relationships, we can easily agree on service standards which are supposed to be maintained in the future. And also we can also focus on actively engaging with our representatives or reps. So from where am I getting this information? Again, from the pre-scene. So according to the pre-scene, we have reps working within each and every hotel who looks into the needs of customers, as well as they are the link between us and the customer at each and every resort. So we have to actively engage with our representatives. Reps should develop a close working relationship with transport companies, and better communication and coordination can minimize transportation delays. So rather than our head office or some other employee who is working within our company Happywell, trying to iron out these issues with transportation services provided, it's better if the rep can handle all these things. Because, for instance, when you look at Mainlandian operations, if the rep who works within the hotel in Mainlandia has direct contact with the transportation services providers, then it's easy to spot inefficiencies. And whenever these reps spot inefficiencies, they can directly communicate with these transportation providers and ensure that these issues are ironed out within a short period of time. Okay. And we have to also monitor customer feedback relating to transfers. So why are we supposed to do this? Because if we listen to customer feedback, then definitely we can prevent customers from going public about inefficiencies they faced within their stay or when utilizing our services. Negative feedback should be communicated to relevant hotel managers whenever we receive them, so that hotel managers know what's happening, and these hotel managers should take appropriate action. So if there are any type of issues which the hotel managers experience, they can always keep the head office informed, so that we can, whenever necessary, take action and be headed in the correct direction. Also, we have to carry out audits of local transport companies. So when conducting these audits, we have to be conversant about the condition and cleanliness of coaches, punctuality of the drivers, driver behavior, as well as adherence to traffic rules. Because if we do not fulfill these requirements, then that leads to inefficiencies in transportation. Okay, so this is the type of answer you are supposed to provide. And I'm not going to take you through task number 2 because of time constraints, but this entire answer plan for the mini mock can be found via our website. So I invite you guys to go through the question and the answer plan, so that you are in a position to better understand the type of answer plans you are supposed to develop. Okay. All right, so that's the discussion. So any questions before we move forward, guys? Any questions? Let me pause the recording. All right, so thank you very much for those questions, Abigail. So before I move forward, let me remind you about what we offer at TCS. So we are on the MCS page, as you can see. So if you want to check out the free content, simply click on this button. You'd be directed towards your login page. So create a user account if you do not have a user account already. And once you're done with the logins, you can access all the free content. So under the free content, you'd gain access to the recorded versions of the webinars, and you'd get your hands on the mini mock and the suggested answer of the mini mock. And on top of that, you'd get your hands on the answer plans of the mini mock. And in the same document, which is this, we have simply highlighted the answering technique which you need to adhere to. Okay. And also, before purchasing any of our material, you can simply click on this button and check out the sample material to see the quality of what we offer. All right, so talking about what the different type of services we offer 3 different packages. First things first, let me talk about the essentials pack. So if you purchase the essentials pack, you would get your hands on the recorded versions of the webinars where we are highlighting the technicalities which you need to get right. Then you'd get your hands on the 5 mock exams with suggested answers. Let me remind you that these 5 mock exams have been developed considering different scenarios as per the hints which are hidden within the pre-scene, because every session the examiner hides certain hints or provides certain hints within the pre-scene document. So, based on all these hints which are hidden within the pre-scene, we have developed our scenarios. And on top of that, we have covered the entire syllabus pertaining to E2, P2, and F2 syllabus area. So if you end up practicing all 5 of our mocks, then it's as if you are covering the entire syllabus. So you need not worry about seeing a question or a scenario which you had not seen within our papers. We give you our guarantee. Okay. And on top of that, you'd get your hands on the 4 pre-scene analysis videos, because the entire pre-scene, as you already should know, is divided into 4 main areas. So, likewise, we have come up with 4 pre-scene analysis videos which takes you through the nitty-gritties of the entire pre-scene based on an annotated pre-scene. Okay, so let me take you through an annotated pre-scene so that you understand what I'm talking about. So as you can see, annotations are provided on top of the normal pre-scene which you'd get your hands on. You can see the type of annotations which we have provided. So these annotations are provided with the intention of summarizing the entire pre-scene by taking out the most important information. So you need not read through the entire pre-scene document. Instead, if you read through all these points which we have mentioned, you'd gain an in-depth understanding about the most important points which you need to remember. And on top of that, as part of annotations, we are also highlighting syllabus areas, probable syllabus areas which can be tested. As you can see, IAS 33 can be tested, direct product profitability can be tested, digital business models can be tested as per the information provided within this pre-scene. Remember, this is not this time's pre-scene. Instead, we are utilizing previous periods or previous sessions annotated pre-scene. Okay, so likewise, throughout the pre-scene, all the important information are highlighted. Yeah, so that we end up, explaining, certain complex points as part of annotations. And on top of that, we will be highlighting syllabus areas which can be tested, and probable exam scenarios are highlighted as well. Okay. And on top of that, there are a set of financial analysis slides, because as you know, as the 4th part of your pre-scene document, you would have seen the financial statements of Happywell Holidays as well as its closest competitor Mangoose Air. So you need to know about the financial position of both companies to be in a position to provide appropriate recommendations. So with that in mind, we have come up with summaries covering all financial statements. So you can see the SOPL has been evaluated, and all these points are provided in a concise manner so that you can easily understand about what's happening within the company. The same thing had been done for the SOFP, or the statement of financial position. All points have been highlighted in here, and a ratio analysis had been conducted considering both the companies, our company as well as its closest competitor. And based on it, the findings are highlighted in a concise yet understandable manner so that you know what the shortcomings are of the company, or what type of financial strength the company has. Okay. So, and on top of that, we are offering a set of industry analysis slides. I'm sorry, I will show you the industry analysis slides within the 3rd webinar, because I have not loaded it mistakenly. So, so these are the type of 3 different type of services you'd get your hands on if you purchase the essentials pack. And this comes at 99 pounds. If you are a student who is coming through the CIMA general route, that means that you had done your E2, P2, and F2, OTQs, and if you gained extremely good marks for your OTQs, if you had not failed any of the OTQ exams, if you had gotten really good marks or aced your OTQ exams, and if you are comfortable with 100% self-learning, go for the essentials pack. You need not have access to any other study material. Okay, let's move on to the value pack. If you purchase the value pack, you'd get your hands on the material which comes under the essentials pack. On top of that, you'd get your hands on the annotated pre-scene. You saw what the annotated pre-scene looks like. Then you get your hands on the industry analysis cards. Why are these industry analysis cards? We have explained the industry based on real life dynamics so that you are in a position to better understand what happens within the industry on which this time's pre-scene is based on. And you'd get your hands on the financial analysis cards. I showed you what these financial analysis cards look like. Then you'd get your hands on the top 10 likely issues, the case study familiarization kit, and access to our tutor manage live chat. And you'd get your hands on the theory recaps of OTQ syllabus content as well. So if you go through these revision cards, you can easily brush up your knowledge of E2, P2, and F2 relevant syllabus areas. So if you are a student who is coming through the CIMA general route, but if you had failed one or two of your OTQ exams, then you need some type of guidance. You need access to a multiple study material. So if that is the case, go for the value pack, which is priced at 199 pounds. Then moving on to the premium package, it comes with everything which falls under the value pack. On top of that, you would have access to the online mock exam platform or the learning management system. So when attempting all 5 of your mocks, you can attempt them under exam conditions. Why exam conditions? Why should you attempt mocks under exam conditions? Because it's of utmost importance that you get yourself accustomed to time management, answer planning, and answer typing technique. Okay, so as I told you earlier, right now you know how to develop answer plans. You know how to manage your time appropriately. However, if you do not practice this, you can't master it. Take it from me, just because you know these techniques, you can't simply walk into the exam and expect to implement all these techniques without hiccups. Because when attempting your 5 mocks, if you adhere to these answer planning and time management techniques, in the first 2 mocks, you will definitely run out of time. Although I'm suggesting you to stick to this, time management technique, although I've said if you stick to this time management technique, you won't run out of time. When you're doing it for the in the first 2 instances, definitely you will run out of time. But from mock 3 onwards, you will realize that your answer planning technique and time management technique improves significantly. So I've encountered students who would do just 1 or 2 mocks before walking into the exam. We do not recommend you to do it. Why? Because you have to get your answer planning and time management techniques right. If you're supposed to do it, you have to at least practice 5 mock exams under exam conditions. And on top of that, if you are to cover the entire syllabus, you definitely have to attempt our 5 mock exams. If not, you cannot cover the entire syllabus. So when attempting these mocks, do it. It's better to do it under exam conditions via our exam platform. And remember, our exam platform is developed to be akin to the Pearson VUE system which you would use at your real exam. And we are offering professional marking and one-to-one tutor feedback on 3 mocks, namely mocks 3, 4, and 5. Okay, so let me show you the type of feedback you would receive. So as you can see, for each and every paragraph, explanations or evaluations have been provided indicating whether you had done a good job or not. So throughout the answer script, you can see the type of feedback which we have provided. And at the very end, answer breakdowns are provided so that you know how much you have gained for each and every subtask. So as you can see, although the pass mark is 80 out of 150, this student had only gotten 51 marks. Okay. So if you go through these points, you are in a position to understand what your real shortcomings are. And, in the remaining time within a certain week, you can focus on improving your answer planning technique. And once you have developed your answer plans, you can always refer with the answer plans which we provide and see what your shortcomings are. Okay, so that's that, and you'd get your hands on the answer plans of all 5 mocks, which is of utmost importance because rather than going through pages and pages of suggested answers, you can simply refer to something like this, where you have the answer plan for the entire mock in one single place. So once you go through the answer plan, you can easily understand the structure of the answer, how the answer is aligned with the requirement, what type of information is brought from the pre-scene, because for doing that you get marks as well. So all these things, and on top of that, by looking at the answer plan or the answer structure, you can learn theory or theoretical elements or theoretical components as well. Okay, so if you go for the premium package, you would get your hands on all 5 answer plans. And we have already conducted 20 master classes. So we have made a mistake here. I'll get it sorted. So we have made 20 master classes or 20 videos explaining each and every task. So whilst explaining each and every task, we have taken care to teach you theory as well as teach you how to improve your application skills, because you need to know your theory, and on top of that, just knowing theory won't help you. You need to have an understanding about how to apply it to a real life business situation. So that's exactly what we have covered. So rather than teaching you theory based on or explaining concepts one by one, what we have done is we have taken a step further, and we are explaining the theoretical elements based on the answer plans which we have developed for each and every mock. So within one mock, you would find 4 tasks. 4 tasks into 5 mocks gives you 20 tasks in total. And within these 20 tasks, we have covered the entire syllabuses pertaining to E2, F2, and P2 related areas. So whilst explaining the answer, we are explaining theory, and on top of that, explaining how to improve application. So if you watch these 20 master classes, you will learn theory, you will improve your application skills, and on top of that, you will improve your answer structuring or your answer planning techniques as well. Okay. And on top of that, you can access the additional webinars and workshops which we are conducting only for students who had invested on the premium package. And this comes with a monthly installment payment option. So the price of the package is £550, but you can pay it over 3 monthly installments. The first installment is £99, and the 2 remaining installments will be £225 each on a monthly basis. And this package comes with a pass guarantee. So let me highlight about what this pass guarantee is about. So if you end up investing your money on the premium package and still end up failing the exam, you will have access to the same material in the subsequent sitting free of charge. However, there's only one single condition which you need to fulfill. If you are to claim the pass guarantee, you have to attempt all 5 mock exams within our exam platform. If you do that, definitely we will give you access to the same material free of charge in the subsequent sitting. If you attempt the 5 mock exams and if you adhere to our study plan, there's absolutely no chance of you failing the examination. Why? Because we have covered all the possible scenarios and we have covered all syllabus areas, and we have made your life easy. You can easily understand the answer planning and answer structuring techniques by looking at our answer plans. We have also explained the answers of each and every task whilst explaining the answers, we are teaching you theory as well as application. So once you do all these things, and on top of that, we are giving you, personalized tutor feedback for mocks 3, 4, and 5. So once you go through this type of a study process, you will definitely pass. Okay. So the only condition for the pass guarantee is the fact that you need to attempt 5 mock exams within our exam platform. If you do, you'll pass for sure. Okay. And we also want to highlight the study plan, which you can find under, if you scroll down within the MCS page, you would find our study plan. And we are in week number 2. You are supposed to attend the second webinar, which we have already done. And within this week, we are supposed to watch the 4 pre-scene analysis videos, refer to the annotated pre-scene, and refer to the industry and financial analysis slides. Okay. So it's just within this week, it's just a matter of watching a set of videos and referring to some study material. And from week 3 onwards, things get a bit serious, because from next week onwards, you have to start attempting, mock per week. However, remember, all study material as well as study resources are provided by us. The only job which you need to do is, on a weekly basis, sit in one place, find 3 hours at a stretch, and attempt a mock, allocating 3 hours of your time via our exam platform. That's the only responsibility you are supposed to have. Everything else is handled by us. So you need not worry about having to balance your work with studies. You might have family commitments. You might be running your own business. So in such an environment, you might not be able to find enough time for studies. You just need to find 3 hours to sit in one place and attempt a mock on a weekly basis. Everything else is handled by us. Okay, so please go through this study plan to understand what you're supposed to do. So if you stick to our study plan, closer to the exam or a week before the exam, week number 8 is a week before the exam. So a week before the exam, you'll be relaxing. You won't be attempting any mock exams. When all the other students, 99% of the students out there, when they are, rushing to complete mock exams within the last week, you are actually relaxing, because you just need to attend the final Q&A with the tutor. Refer to the answer plans of all 5 mocks, where you will be revising theory as well as application. And you are supposed to reread the annotated pre-scene one last time, and stop preparations a day prior to the exam. Sleep, eat, and rest well. Why? You are playing the role of a finance manager. As a finance manager, you need to be open-minded. Then you would come up with the best solutions to the problems faced by the company. Just like you saw in today's session, the type of answers which you're supposed to provide under MCS is highly practical. So it's better to have an open mind. It's better not to think about a theoretical concept when developing your answers. Okay. So what better way to achieve it than relaxing before the exam? So a week before the exam, you are relaxing when all the others are under intense levels of stress. So if you stick to the study plan, it's just a matter of, on a weekly basis, attempting a mock, allocating 3 hours. Everything else is handled by us. And if you do, although your pass mark is just 80, you are in a position to gain more than 100 marks, as per what we have experienced, across these 2.5 years, teaching CIMA case study. All right. So if you're not yet part of our MCS WhatsApp discussion forum, simply click on this button and you can access it. All right, so let me remind you about the pass rate which we achieved for the February session, which was 91%. And as you can see, this student, Aaron Pinto, he did OCS with us as well, and he ended up doing MCS, and this guy got 103 marks for MCS. So I told you, when the pass mark is 80, students who end up following our study plan, gain more than 100 marks. That's exactly what you can see based on the testimonial provided by the student. Okay, so let me also remind you about the 50% discount, which is offered on the first installment of the premium package. So I said that the premium package, the first installment is £99, but uh, in the until the end of the upcoming 2 weeks, not the upcoming 2 weeks actually, until the end of next week, we are offering a 50% discount on the first installment. So the first installment post discount will be £49. Okay, and use the discount code MCSP50 where at the within the checkout area. All right, any questions, folks? Any questions before we wind up? I hope you guys understood the answer planning and time management technique. If you have any concerns, please raise them now. All right, seems like there aren't any more questions. So let me conclude the session. So if you want to contact us, you can do it via our website, which is www.study@tcs.com, or you can simply drop us an email via info@study@tcs.com, or WhatsApp us on our WhatsApp number. And we invite you guys to follow us on our social media handles, especially TikTok, because as I told you earlier, the entire pre-scene is summarized within 9 minutes via 3 videos. So you have to keep on watching these 3 videos on a continuous or daily basis so that you are in a position to remember the most important parts. All right, so having said that, thank you very much, guys, for attending tonight's webinar. I hope you guys gained something out of it. And if you have any concerns, whilst attending, even if you do not invest on our, mocks or resources, that's totally fine. When you are attempting your mock exams, try to replicate or try to practice the time management technique as well as the answer planning technique. Because if you do, you'd be, when once you're done attempting 5 mock exams, it's as if you have practiced the answer planning and time management technique 20 times over. Because as I told you earlier, there are 4 main tasks within each mock. So 4 tasks into 5 mocks is 20 tasks in total. So once you have practiced your answer planning and time management technique 20 times over, you can champion these 2 techniques at your real exam. Then you are in a position to gain more than 100 marks if you stick to our study plan. So I hope you do it. And if you are yet to invest on study material, it's high time you do it, because from the 3rd week onwards, which is 2 weeks from now, things get a bit serious. And if you're planning to do your exam in August, you need to get serious by now. Okay. So thank you very much, guys, for joining in. I'll see you guys week after next when I'm conducting the 3rd webinar. Thank you very much. Take care and good night.
Thank you.